Good afternoon, Dr. Nashirwan Shaib here. Welcome to the lab of Advanced RF Measurements course. In today's lab, we will perform the VNA calibration. So this lab is divided into multiple tasks. The first task will be to introduce the VNA and its different options. Then we will perform the VNA calibration using the mechanical calibration kit available at the RIMS EMC lab. Then we will validate the calibration using the verification standard. The last step will be to characterize an RF microwave device, which in our case is a low pass filter. So we will follow all these steps one by one. In the start, I will go to the VNA and tell you about the different options and the hardware facilities available with the VNA. So let's go and see the VNA. So class VNA available at the RIMS lab is Agilent Technologies E8362B VNA. This is the benchtop VNA. The frequency range of the VNA start from 10 MHz to 20 GHz. It is a two-port VNA. As you can see, it has two ports and two cables are connected to one cable is connected to each port. Then it has a graphics user interface here. I will discuss this more in detail in the next few minutes. Apart from graphical user interface, you can see some buttons here. These buttons are used to basically control the different options available with the VNA. Instead of using these buttons, you can also use a mouse and a keyboard that makes your life easier and directly interact with the graphic user interface. Then there is an artificial hand available here. This is very important whenever you start using the VNA. You must wear this. This helps you to discharge any charge on your body to the ground without damaging the VNA. So now in the next step, I will show you the different options available with this keypad, and then we go to the VNA graphical user interface. So let's see the keypad option now. Okay, so in this part of the VNA, you can see there are different buttons that are used to enter different digits. So for example, if you would like to enter a start and stop frequency, you can use these buttons. There is also an option to enter the gigahertz and megahertz frequency ranges here. There is also a rotator button that I will show you how to use with it with the marker. There are also options available for the display that we will use in the graphical user interface. We also use some options for the channel setup and the trace display. I will show you this in the next few minutes directly on the graphical user interface. So what we do, we try to connect this VNA with a screen so that we can see the enlarged portion of the graphical user interface. In addition, I will use the mouse and the keyboard so I can directly enter the digits like we do with a normal PC. So the next step will be to see the graphic user interface and see how we can interact with the VNA. Okay class, now we are seeing the graphical user interface of a VNA. So you can see there are different options available, different tabs available, and each tab have different options. Start with a file. So here you can recall some files or recall some calibration. You can save a file, save a S parameter file in different formats. You can also have some print options here. There is also a tab of view in which you can enable and disable different views or a status bar if you would like to display it or not display it. Then there is a channel option, and this is very key because this is where we enter the start and stop frequency. So let's enter some start and stop frequency. So here if you see, the default range is 10 megahertz to 20 gigahertz, which is the range of the VNA. For our case, we will put the start frequency as 500 megahertz and we go up till 5 gigahertz. So as an example, I'm putting this frequency, but you can put any frequency range between 10 megahertz and 20 gigahertz. So let's enter. So for entering the 500 megahertz, I use the keyboard now, and I press 500 from the keyboard and then press the button M from the keyboard. So it becomes 500 megahertz. Then the stop frequency is, as I mentioned earlier, I selected let's say 5 gigahertz. So I press 5 and then press the button G. G means gigahertz. So it's become 500 megahertz to 5 gigahertz. I press OK. So if you see, this start from 500 megahertz and the stop frequency is 5 gigahertz. Now there's another option of center and span. You can also use this option to enter the center frequency in a span if you would like to enter the frequency like this. There's an option of power. So if you go in the power option, this shows you how much the test port power that VNA is generating to the particular test port that at the end of the day goes to the DUT. So this power is set as default minus 5 dBm. So we keep this as such. Here I would like to mention that VNA cable we use to perform two types of calibration. One in which you just do a frequency sweep and get the S parameters. However, you can also perform a power sweep and get the S parameter at different power levels. So in our lab at this moment, we only perform the frequency sweep at a fixed power level, which is at -5 dBm. However, the power measurements can also be done with the VNA. So we keep this as -5 dBm and press it OK. Now there's also other options like restart average or average option. For example, if I click the average option, here the average factor is 1. This means that all the frequency points I measure only once and display on the screen. For example, if you would like to do a very precise measurements and you think your measurements change with time, so what you do, you put an average factor. So if I put, let's say 10 here, so what it will do, it will perform a sweep 10 times. It performs the sweeps 10 times, and average frequency point will be measured 10 times, and the average value of these 10 measurements will be displayed for each particular frequency point. In our case, we just put as average factor of 1, so in a single sweep it will display us the values. So I just press is OK. Now there are also advanced option. We will leave them like this for this lab. Then we go to the sweep tab, and here you can see the sweep time. The sweep time is very important, that is generated by the VNA. So what is the sweep time? Sweep time is the time that required by the VNA to complete the operation. For example, start from the starting frequency of, let's say, 500 megahertz and go to the stop frequency 500 gigahertz. So the time it takes from doing the measurements from 5 megahertz to 5 gigahertz is known as the sweep time, and here it automatically converted to 12.030 millisecond. We keep it OK. Now the next important thing is how many number of points you have between 500 megahertz and 500 gigahertz. So as you can see, theoretically there are infinite number of points between 500 megahertz and 5 gigahertz. However, in real life there's always some finite number of points. You can see there's a list of number of points available here, from starting from 2 to 16,001 points. You can select any point in between them, or if you think your points are not available in the list, you can go to the customs options and here select any point you would like to enter. However, for our case, we will put a fixed number of points between 500 megahertz and 5 gigahertz and select, let's say, 401 points between these two frequency ends. So now the VNA will perform the measurement from 500 megahertz to 50 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz with 401 points in between them. The next option will be the IF bandwidth. Here it's default set to 35 kilohertz. This IF bandwidth is very important also because, as we discussed in the class, in the architecture of the VNA, when the signal is received by the measurement channel and is down converted, there is always a IF filter, and that IF filter has a particular bandwidth, so you can select the filter and then post process it. So here the default value set to 35 kilohertz, so we keep it like this. This IF bandwidth play a much crucial role in spectrum analysis purposes. In a spectrum analyzer, it has much more crucial role, but for vector network analyzer, we keep this as the default value of 35 kilohertz. Then there are some other options. We will leave them as such for this lab. Before going to the calibration wizard, that how to perform a calibration, let me show you the different other options. For example, in the trace, you can create the different traces if you like. For example, at the moment you can see there's only one trace on this this VNA, and it's only S11. You can also include another trace by pressing the trace button. Let's say we would like to plot the different S parameter on the same trace. So I can select, let's say, S22 I would like to plot, so I press OK. So you see in addition to S11, S22 is also plotted. However, you can also plot the S21 as S12 here as well. So this is the option here in which you can insert any plot in any trace. Okay, for the moment I just delete it, so I can go to the original setting. Now there is also option that trace in which you can ask that measure S11 or measure the different S parameter. There are also different options for format. For example, here if I go to the format, this log magnitude is the one you can see in front of you. If you like, you can also convert it to linear magnitude and then auto scale all. You can see this in the linear magnitude, so the y-axis is now in linear. And then you can also plot the phase. So this is the phase. If you would like to see a phase of a device, this is the phase response in degrees versus frequency. There are also other option of Smith chart. You can also plot the group delay, which can be obtained from the phase of the S21 or S12. You can also plot the SWR. You can also plot real and imaginary part of a S parameter. By definition, the S parameter is a complex number, so we can plot the real and imaginary part as well. For example, if I press the real, so this is the real part of the S11. For our lab, we will keep it to log magnitude, uh, but you can also use the other formats as well. Then there's a tab of scale, in which if you would like to auto scale a particular trace, you can press this button and automatically scale the y-axis and display the signal in front of you. There's also another option of marker that I will use when I will perform the DUT measurements in this lab. So I will show you there the options for the marker. Then there is an option of system. We will keep this as such for this lab. Then we go to the window. This is important because there are two possibilities, that you can also plot all the S parameters on the same trace, or you can divide a window into 4 different halves and measure the S parameter in different windows. So what we do, we will go to the range and press the quad 4 button. So you can see it divides your window into 4 quadrants. Now I can assign a different parameter to each quadrant. For example, I click on this trace, it's become red, and then I say new trace S21. So I plotted the S21 here, and then I auto scale. Although it's give you a auto scale option here. This since there's nothing is connected at the moment, the cables are open at the end, so you can see some strange values here. But once I will use a DUT, you will see a proper response here. Similarly, I go to the third trace, create new trace, as I can also plot the S12. I can also do it auto scale, so can I see the values. I go to the fourth half of the screen, I go to the trace, new trace, and also plot S22. So this is how you can see the 4 different parameters of a 2-port device in different traces, and then again in each trace, if you would like, you can change the format using this option. So all the options are available with a particular trace that you can use to plot in a different way. So if you would like to see the magnitude of S11 but the phase of S22, so as you go here, just plot phase and it gives you the phase. So you can plot the data in different formats. The good thing of the VNA is that you can extract the data from the VNA in the form of touchstone file, in the form of .csv file, and take it to the MATLAB or Excel for post-processing, for the display, for the analysis, and for the computation of different other parameters of the device in the test. So then there is a help option that you can use to get the help about the different options available with the VNA. So that's all for the menu side. Now the one remaining tab is the calibration wizard. After entering the frequency and the number of points, also setting the power, I now go to the calibration wizard to start the calibration. So next part of the lab will be to perform the calibration using the mechanical calibration standard. So in order to perform the calibration, I press the calibration wizard button. So here, if you see, there are a number of options available with you in the calibration option. The first one is known as smart call guided calibration use mechanical standard. So first option, use the mechanical standard available. The second option is unguided calibration use mechanical standard. So this is also another option that use the mechanical standard. The third one is saying use electronic calibration. Since we don't have the electronic calibration available in the lab, so we can only use the first two options. The first option is not available for this particular VNA, so that's why we go to the second option, and we use the mechanical standard and unguided calibration option, and click the next button. So I select this one and click the next button. Here you can see the number of calibration techniques in front of you. Some are open and short response. These are the particular calibration techniques if you would like to see the response of open or short. But for us, as we study in the class, we studied the 1-port and 2-port calibration technique. So if I just click the 1-port calibration technique and click next, so you can see it gives you the open and short and load. So this is a SOL calibration technique that you can perform at any port, if you like, both at port 1 or port 2. But for our lab, we will perform a full salt two-port calibration. So I select this one. In addition to salt, you also see a full TRL calibration as well. As we have studied in the TR class, that TR is through reflex line calibration. We can also use this calibration. It's also very famous calibration technique or known calibration technique that is used for metrologic analysis. For in our lab, however, we will focus on the full salt calibration. Salt means short upper load through calibration is a two-port calibration technique, and in that case this salt calibration technique, as you have studied in the class, can be used to correct the 12 systematic errors. So this means this is particularly used for the VNAs. For example, if I take the example of a two-port VNA, it is particularly used for the VNAs that have two measurement receivers and one reference receiver. So the number of errors that are generated from the VNA are 12. However, if the VNA has two reference receiver and two measurement receiver, the number of errors reduced to 7. So in that case, instead of performing a full salt calibration, you perform a SOL and unknown through calibration. That may be useful to solve that particular case. But for our case, we're performing a full salt calibration. Here there's an option of omit isolation. So if you omit the isolation, the calibration technique reduced from 12 terms to 10 terms error model. But in our case, since I would like to perform a full salt calibration and would like the VNA to correct all the 12 systematic errors, so I just select uncheck this one. So it includes now the omit isolation option while performing the salt calibration. So it consider how much the two ports of the VNA are isolated or not. So it includes the effects of isolation between the two ports. Then there is an option of view or select calibration kit. This is important because once you press the next button, you can also select the calibration kit that is available in the lab. So I select this one and I press the next button. Now here you can see the number of calibration kits are already available with this VNA. Whenever you buy a VNA, the VNA, the formation technology or Rodin Schwarz, they always declare some non-calibration kits already in the VNA. So you don't need to declare the standards by yourself. You just need to select the kit and then proceed ahead. So in our case, we are using a 3.5 mm calibration kit that is already available here. Let me show you the calibration kit box. So this is a calibration kit box which is made by Agilent Technologies. This is 85052D. It is 3.5 mm economy calibration kit. Economy means it has lesser number of components inside, but it has all the essential calibration standard inside that can be used to perform the full two-port calibration. So this is a kit that we will use, and since we know the number from the top of the kit is 85052D, so I select this option 85052D. It is a 3.5 mm calibration kit. I select this one, I click the next button. Now this screen is very interesting because it gives you it asks you that how we can perform a full two-port calibration. So if you see here, we have to connect open short load at port 1, then you have to connect open short load at port 2, and then you perform a through connection. So let's see the standards available from the calibration kit and perform the calibration technique now. So if you see, let me show you the different calibration standard available here with myself, and also few other components that are available, and also the cable. So if you, I hope you can see the cables now. So this is the cable that is connected to the port 1, and it has a male standard. You can see the pin inside. This is a male standard cable, and this is the cable that is connected to the port 2, and you can see this is a female standard as there is no pin available. The benefit of having the cable with the different gender is that I can perform a direct through, which means I can perform a zero length through, as I told you in the class. If the both ports have the same gender, then you need an adapter to connect them, which means you use a through with a finite length. However, in our case, since the both ports have the different gender, I can perform a zero length through. In addition, in the calibration kit, I have 3 male and 3 female calibration standard. One port calibration standard, for example, this is a load standard. I hope you can see this one. This is a load standard. It's a 1 port load standard. It is a male load standard. You can see the pin inside. Similarly, we also have the for example, this is a female open standard. You can see here. This is a female open standard. So we also have also short open load in male form. We also have short open load in the female form. So we have six one port calibration standard. As you can see here, three are male one port calibration standard, three are female calibration standard, one port calibration standard. Then this is important. There are two torque wrenches are very important. As I told you in the class that don't connect the standard with force. If you connect the standard with force, you can damage them very easily. So there are two torque wrenches available in the calibration kit, one with the small size and one with large size, and both have the torque of recommended torque of 0.90 Newton meter. So this is a standard torque that you can apply to connect our calibration standard. You can't use more force in that case. And if you would like to if you use this torque wrench, if you apply too much force, it's just bend. As you can see here, it don't allow you to put too much force on the calibration standard. So this makes the calibration standard more safe. So now here I will use these two torque wrenches and these one port calibration standard to perform the calibration, and for through I make a direct connection. So let's start performing the first connecting the first calibration standard and do the measurement. So you can select any standard you want here. If you see the screen, there are open short load, but it's not necessary that you put an open first. You can put a short first, but important thing is once if you connected a short, you should select that the I connected short. So VNA must know that a short is connected. So the first standard that came in front of me is a short standard, is a male. So since I'm using the port number 1 first, so I have to use the female standard. So I can use any standard. So here going to the port 1, the first standard came to me is a broadband load standard. You can see here this is a broadband load standard, is a female standard. I will start with the port number 1. So I connect it here. I hope you can see the connection here. So I use my hand to connect this definitely in the start, just to make the connection, and once it's connected, then I have to use this torque wrench to make sure that this this standard is perfectly connected. So here the connection has been performed, and I connected a load standard here. So if you go to the screen now, I click the load here. It say load to port 1. Okay, it's connected. I press OK. Since I'm using a female load, so I select 3.5 mm female broadband load. I select this one. I press OK. So if you see, there's a green button now, so which means that the measurements for the load standard have been saved now. Now the next step is connect the short, and then I connect the open. So let's go to the connection strategy now and connect the short or open standard, whatever available now. So the next standard that's available in front of me is a short standard. You can see here, this is a short standard. This is a female short standard. I just connected here. I hope you can see the connection. So I use my hand to connect this initially, but once I think this is make a firm connection, so I then use a torque wrench to make it a firm connection. So I connected a short here. So now you can see the screen now. Here I click the button short to port 1. I click OK. It is 3.5 mm female short. I connect OK, select it and press it OK. So again the green button here. So short is also, the measurement for short is also same. Now the last one that I have to connect is an open standard. So I let's go and see the connection again. So I go downstairs, I disconnect okay class. So now this is an open standard that is remaining. So you can see this is an open one port standard, the female standard. I connect this to the port. So I connect it here. Once I connect it here, I use a torque wrench to make a firm connection now, and it make a firm connection. So I go to the screen now and select open. It say open to port 1. I press OK. It is a 3.5 mm female open. I press OK. So all the one port standards are now connected, and all the measurements have been performed at port number 1. So now we go and perform the measurements at port number 2. So now again I have to disconnect this one. So I'm disconnecting this to port number 1. So all the one port calibration in port number 1 is performed. Calibration standard have connected. Now I use the port number 2. Since this is a female port, you can see here, and the available calibration standard, all the male calibration standard, I can start with anyone in front of me. So the available in front of me is broadband load standard. You can see here. This is a male standard, so I connect it right here, and here, and then I do the top branch just to ensure that it's connected. So I connect a load standard. I click here, load. It's load to port 2. It's 3.5 mm female broadband load is okay. So green sign is appeared. So load measurements have been saved. Class, if you see here, if you let's say connect a load and you press accidentally a short standard, no problem. Even though it's a green sign here, I can also click this button again to repeat the measurement. So it replaces the updated measurement. So if you make any error, there's no problem. You can repeat the measurements again by clicking the same red box. So let's go again and disconnect the load, and the next I have in front of me is a short standard. You can see here, this is a short standard, is a male short standard, and I connect it here. So I go to the screen now. I connected a short standard, so I click short to port 2. Okay, 3.5 mm. So I don't need to connect the 3.5 mm. This is a male short, so I should select this is 3.5 mm male short. I press OK. Then the last standard, one port calibration standard I have is an open standard here, and this you can see here. This is an open standard. This is a male open standard with a pin inside. Now I use this standard with the cable now, and perform the measurements. So if you see the screen, this I click the open standard, open to port 2. Okay, this is a 3.5 mm male open. I select here, I press OK. So now you can see all the one port standards have been connected with port number 2, and measurement have been saved. Now the next step will be to perform a through connection. So let's perform a through connection now. So as you can see, these two cables are, as I mentioned earlier, have the opposite ends. So which means I can perform a direct through. So in our case, this through will be a zero length through. So I just connect them together, put them here, and just connected them. So if you can see, this is port number 1, this is port number 2, and they connected directly. So this means the through that has been used in this calibration standard, in this calibration technique, is a zero length through. So now I go to the screen now and press the through between port 1 and port 2. I press it OK. So now all the standard says full two port calibration including isolation, all the standard measured. Press next button now if you would like to proceed with the end calibration, or if you would like to remeasure, you can press the remeasure option as well. So I just press the next button now. It says calibration has been successfully completed. The calibration saved into calculate. So it saved the calibration. So this is the important thing that I would like to highlight, that typically a calibration expire after 24 hours because of drift error, as I mentioned in the class. So you save this calibration. You can recall the calibration. For them, if you use the VNA now and after 2 hours you say would like to use it again, so you don't need to perform the measurements, perform the calibration again. You can recall this calibration with this name calibration set underscore 63 that is saved in this VNA. However, if you would like to use the bean after some days, so please, let's say tomorrow, please repeat the calibration, repeat all this step so that the drift error or other systematic errors that are related with the VNA test set will be minimal. So the next step, do you want to save the instrument state that point to the calibration? So if you press the yes button, it saves this calibration kit to your database of the VNA. In our case, I press yes, and I just say auto save, and then it automatically saves this to the database, so in the future I can recall this calibration state as well. Then I press the finish button. So now calibration has been performed. Once you perform the calibration, the next important thing is how to validate the calibration. How you know that you have performed the correct calibration. For this purpose, one of the standards we use, one of the DUTs we use, are the one that has a known response. For example, I can use an attenuator. Since I know this attenuator have a let's say a minus 10 dB or minus 20 dB attenuator, so I know that this has a minus 10 or minus 20 dB S21 or S12. So if my after my calibration this attenuator display the same thing that is actually meant for this attenuator in its data sheet, so which means I perform the correct calibration. So now I will go disconnect this through connection and connect an attenuator in between them, just to validate that my calibration is fine. So this is an attenuator standard. This is a minus 10 dB attenuator, so which means if I connect this one and display the S21 transmission parameter S21 S12, it should show me minus 10 dB or near to minus 10 dB plus minus 0.5 dB fluctuations in its value. So let's connect this one. So I connect this to the female to the port number 1 and male to the port number 2. So this is we call this as a verification device that validates uh, your calibration. So I connect this one here. So here you can see this is port number 1, this is port number 2, and the verification standard, which in our case in an attenuation standard, is connected. So now let's see the measurements of this attenuation standard. So if you can see now, there's nothing display on the screen, which doesn't mean that Wien is not varying. Wien is varying, but the problem is that this trace is not auto scale. So what I have to make them auto scale. I just auto scale this one, auto scale this one, auto scale this one, and auto scale all. So here you can see all the 4 parameters of attenuator. As I mentioned earlier, this attenuator has a minus 10 dB value. So this means S21 and S12 should be near minus 10 dB. So if you can see on this plot, this start from minus 9.9 dB and ends on minus 10.25 dB. So it is within the minus 10 dB range. Similar for S12. So this is a reciprocal device. I can further right click here and maximize this one. So now you can only see the S21, the much better display. So here you can see over the frequency 500 MHz to 5 GHz. This attenuation standard has minus 10 dB response, which is expected, which was mentioned in this data sheet. So since this standard, this DVT is known, so I can validate my calibration. So this means that I perform the correct calibration. So the value of these standards fluctuate between minus 9.9 to minus 10.5. So typically in a minus 10 dB attenuator, we typically have the uncertainty as well up to plus 1.5 dB. So which shows which is also displaying here with the frequency. So this attenuation, this attenuator show that it has a almost near to minus 10 dB response over all the frequency ranges. Now since this result is what we expected from this standard, so which means our calibration is correct. So now we disconnect this verification standard and connect no connect any DUT for characterization. As I mentioned in the start of the lab, our DUT is a low pass filter, so I connect now a low pass filter and see the response of a low pass filter. But before going to this one, I just go again to the window and make it coordinate again, so can go into the original format now. So you can see all the 4 parameters are shown here for the attenuator standard. The next step will be to connect a low pass filter. So let's go and connect a low pass filter now. Before connecting the low pass filter, I have to disconnect this one. So this was the attenuator I use as a verification device. I keep it like this here. Then this is a commercial available low pass filter. It is a microstrip low pass filter. You can see here it is a microstrip based low pass filter. It is enclosed in a housing to keep it safe from the environmental effects. It has two connector here, and if you can see, this is a female connector here, and this is also a female connector here, and this is a low pass filter that is available in the RIMS microwave lab. So now I perform the calibration, perform the characterization of this filter. So I have to connect this between the two ports now. As you can see here, if I this both ports are female, so on the port one I can easily connect it this one like this one, because port one has a male gender, so it can easily connect with this port of the DUT. However, if you see here, I hope you can see, you are watching this, that these two are the same gender, so I can't connect it. So which means I need an adapter that connects the female to female. So I just go to the calibration kit and bring an adapter here. So this is an adapter that is available in the lab. So it has a male connector and another male connector on both sides. So this means it can connect the two female ports easily. So I connect this adapter with this low pass filter DUT, and now you can see I connect the adapter other ports to the port number 2. So now this is my complete setup. So port number 1, device under test, which is a low pass filter, adapter, and the port number 2. Here I would like to clear one thing, that the measurements have been performed at these two planes. So measurement has been performed at these 2 points, the port number 1 and port number 2. Now when you connect the device, so if you are only interested in the response of this device, you have to do the DM bending procedure. So this DM bending procedure I already told you in the class, that how to perform a DM bending procedure. So in that case you have to convert the S parameter to the T parameters, and then de-embed the required response of the device and test. So which means you also know the characterization of a adapter. Typically we use an adapter that have very low insertion loss, so that do not affect the S parameter of the device and test. But here the VNA will show us the response of device and test and adapter together, because the calibration is performed here. So in order to get the S parameter of the device under test itself, you have to perform the embedding by yourself in the post processing method. However, here this the adapter I have used have a low insertion loss, maybe less than 0.1 dB. So which means the S parameter that will be displayed here are almost similar of the actual DUT, that is of the low pass filter. So it will not so much affect the our low pass filter. But if you would like to make a precise measurements, you have to de-embed the effect of this adapter. So let's go to the screen and see its response. So if you see here, the different traces have different settings. So I just go and auto scale it. I just go and auto scale this one as well, auto scale this one as well, and auto scale all the 4 traces as well. So you can see all the 4 parameters of the low pass filter. And the one important thing in a low pass filter is that if somebody asks you, is it a low pass filter or no, so you just see is insertion loss, which means you see is S21 and S12 parameters. So I can see from here the response is a low pass filter, so it's pass the low frequency, attenuate the higher frequencies. Again, this is a reciprocal device, so it's pass the low frequency, attenuate the higher frequencies. The S11, if you see here in the passband, is lower than -10 dB in both sides, which is a good match at these frequencies. And S11 is very high at stop frequency, which means it do not allow the higher frequencies to go through. And this is the characteristics of a low pass filter. I can click on any screen and maximize it. For example, I can maximize S21 now, so you can see much clear response now that this is a low pass filter. And if you would like to see phase, you can also check this phase as well. So it has a good linear phase here over the entire frequency range. So this is a phase change between -180 and +180 degrees, and it is a linear change. And you can also plot in different formats. So going back to the original format, this is a low pass filter response. Now one thing that I mentioned in the start of the lab is to use a marker option to see what are the values that are displayed here. As you can can't directly say what is the value here. So you have to see a marker. So I go to the marker and select the marker option. Here you can see when I press this button there's a 1 appear here, which is this is marker number 1. You can also define many markers here. This is the marker number, so 1 correspond to this one. This is a frequency at which marker exists, and this is a value at that frequency. So this is a frequency of 2.75 gigahertz, and at that point the value of the filter is minus 2.6 dB. However, if you would like to move this marker, you can move this marker by using this lower and upper frequency, this option of graphics user interface. This is one of the way to move the marker. You can also move the marker using the rotation button on the. I will show you on the screen of the VNA. On the top of the VNA is this rotator button. If I rotate this button, I can move the marker in different positions. So this is also a very handy button that is available with the VNA. However, in our case, I can use both mouse or keyboard and a rotator as well. So if I go back to the screen now, here if you can see I'm moving the rotator, so I can move the marker much faster here. This is one thing that I would like to show you. Secondly, if I have to see how much value it has in the passband. So this is, for example, the passband. You can see it's almost flat with negligible difference in dB. So you can see at 1.30 gigahertz is minus 0.36 dB response. So it has a very good passband response. Now I can also see it's minus 3 dB points, because in filter, when we design a filter, minus 3 dB points is important. So I can go using the rotator and see it. So this is a minus 3 dB point is at 2.77 gigahertz. So this filter is designed for a minus 3 dB point of 2.77 gigahertz. So I press is OK. In addition, there are also marker search options here that you can use, for example, that allow automatically VNA to find the minimum maximum. So if I select this maximum execute, go to the maximum values that's available in the trace. If I go to the minimum value and press execute button, goes to the minimum value. For the minimum value is at 5 gigahertz, minus 38.32 dB. There are also other option, next peak, peak right, peak left. In case if there are peaks in your response, you can also select this one and press the execute button. So in our case, let's say press the maximum value, I press is OK. And then these are the few, I think, things that I would like to show for this lab. I go again and make it to a quad option here. So this is all the 4 parameters of the low pass filter, which is our device under test. So class, let me summarize the lab. So in this lab today, we basically do the introduction to the VNA. Then we see what are the different options available in the VNA. So I start with the file and show you the different options available, like what you do in the channel, what you do in the sweep, what we do in the calibration wizard, what you do in the trace, scale, markers, and windows. And after doing this, we perform the calibration. So I show you what is the calibration wizard, how you perform the calibration. Once you are done with the calibration, the next step we did is to validate the calibration, that we use a verification standard, which in our case is a minus 10 dB attenuator. Afterwards, I made a device under test, which in our case is a low pass filter, and also we can also see a very good low pass filter response in our S parameters. So class, that's it for this week's lab. So hopefully meet you in the next lab, inshallah, with some new instrument, new devices, new characterization. Till then, Allah Hafiz, take care, have a nice weekend.